During this next section, we'll review some of the legislation that governs language access in the United States. Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act is the first piece of legislation that planted the seed for language access. It prohibits discrimination based on the grounds of race, color, and national origin. The Supreme Court has ruled that discrimination based on language is equivalent to discrimination based on national origin. Therefore, people who speak a language other than English are legally entitled to equitable care under federally funded programs. After the inception of Title VI, the next law that promoted language access was Executive Order 13166, signed in 2000. This order mandates and enforces that all federally funded organizations have a language access plan in place and provide language services free of charge to persons that identify as limited English proficient. Most recently, the Affordable Care Act has reshaped the legalities surrounding language access, and more specifically, interpreting. It legally defines qualified medical interpreters and sets parameters for what is and isn't appropriate interpretation. The ACA severely restricts bilingual or multilingual staff without formal training from serving as medical interpreters. It also prohibits the use of family members older than 18 serving as interpreters, with the two exceptions. An emergency situation involving an imminent threat to the safety or welfare of the patient when there is no qualified interpreter available. Or, the patient specifically states that they desire the adult family member to serve as an interpreter and the family member agrees to serve as the interpreter. The ACA explicitly prohibits the use of minors, persons under the age of 18, from serving as interpreters or facilitating communication in any situation, even in life-threatening medical emergencies. There are also several laws that further address language access for individuals that are deaf, hard of hearing, or speech impaired. The Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and the Americans with Disabilities Act mandate that no individual with a disability shall be discriminated against or be denied participation or benefits from any program receiving federal funding. Title III of the Americans with Disabilities Act mandates that healthcare facilities provide qualified interpreters for patients needing to communicate effectively with a healthcare provider. In addition to these federal mandates surrounding language access, CHS also has a policy on language access for LEP patients and guests. This policy states that the organization will provide access to appropriate communication for patients, authorized representatives, and other individuals who identify as LEP to enhance the patient experience. According to this policy, a qualified medical interpreter shall be provided 24/7 free of charge to the patient. This information is included in the CHS Statement of Patient Rights given to patients upon admission. So we come to the question yet again. Why is it important to overcome language barriers in healthcare? The following two case studies illustrate how seemingly simple miscommunications can result in grave consequences. Let's take a look at case study 4. A couple took their 2-month-old daughter to the hospital for a kidney procedure. The couple preferred Spanish as their primary language. Although qualified interpreters were available, none were offered. The couple signed consent forms in English, but no such form was provided in Spanish. The provider used a family member as an interpreter to discuss details of the surgery. Although the patient was to have her left kidney removed and expected to be in intensive care postoperatively, the parents understood that the procedure was simple with little to no complications. It was not until their child suffered major post-surgical complications that the family began to understand the medical details surrounding their daughter's life. Lack of appropriate language access resulted in the healthcare facility settling for $1 million in damages. Cut to case study 5. A bustling hospital emergency room in Florida. An 18-year-old arrived after suffering intense headaches and fleeting consciousness. The family, speaking limited English, told the doctor that the patient was intoxicado. The doctor understood this to mean intoxicated and assumed the patient came because of a self-induced drug overdose. The misunderstanding of this one word resulted in the patient being incorrectly treated for 2 days while an intracerebellar hemorrhage festered. The correct meaning of the word intoxicado in this situation was sick to the stomach because of ingesting food. The misunderstanding left the patient quadriplegic and the hospital paying $71 million in damages. Bridging language barriers is fundamental in order to provide care that's ethical and equitable. Appropriate language access maintains the integrity of the message, promotes open communication, accurately reflects the quality of care, and yields better outcomes for all. Thank you for taking this course.